What is the best cheap electric car that you can buy? We've got 10 electric cars here, all priced from around £30,000. And in this video, we're going to give you lots of helpful and sensible information about which one is best and why. But we're also going to drag race them to find out which one's the quickest and which one's the slowest.
Now, because we've got 10 cars here, we're not just going to put them all together in one go. We're actually going to split them into two groups. And in the first race of 5 cars, I'm in the Mazda MX-30, which in many ways is a brilliant car. It has a lovely interior, it's good to drive, but it has a terrible range. That's a bit of a problem for an electric car. It can only do 124 miles, and that's according to the official figures. In the real world, even in the summer, you'll be lucky to get much more than 100 miles, but fortunately today that won't be a problem for it because it only needs to do a quarter of a mile, and it's actually quite powerful. It has 143 brake horsepower compared with the 134 brake horsepower Zoe and the 117 brake horsepower Fiat 500 that are also in this race.
Now, you can spend more than £36,000 on a Nissan Leaf, but the model that we've got here has got a very competitive starting price. That's because it's got a smaller battery than the other more expensive versions of this car, which is great for the price, but it's not great for the range because this only has a claimed WLTP range of 168 miles, which by the standards of most of the other cars here isn't great. It does though get 148 brake horsepower, which compared to these other 4 cars makes it the second most powerful, behind only the 181 brake horsepower Mini Electric. Now that car also has a pretty terrible range. It's even worse than this. It's just 144 miles. Anyway, which is quickest? It's time to find out. But before we get into that, if you want to see lots more videos like this, then make sure you subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments below what you want to see us race and review. And don't forget, if you're looking for a great deal on your next car, go to whatcar.com. And away we go. That's a good start. That's a good start. The Mazda started really well.
Oh, the Mini has just taken off. The Fiat 500.
I'm ahead of the Mini. Ahead of the Mini, 48, 54 miles an hour.
The Fiat 500 is going to beat me. At least I beat the Zoe.
At the halfway point, oh, the Mini's just getting ahead of me. Oh no. And across the line.
Across the line, there we go. Not last.
The Mini wins. I'm a very impressive second though. Okay, so for the next race, we have another 5 electric cars, all costing around about £30,000, and I am now in an MG5. Now, if you order an MG5 today, it will actually look like this, which is obviously different to the one that we have here. But the 2 cars are basically identical underneath. And the interesting thing about the MG5 is that it's one of the only electric estate cars that you can buy, and it's certainly the cheapest electric estate because the other one has got a Porsche badge on it. Anyway, this car is practical, it's got a good range, and it has 154 brake horsepower, which is the same as the other MG that we have in this race, the MG ZS EV. And that car has a claimed range of 273 miles, which is the longest of any electric car that we have here today.
And that isn't the only family feud in this lineup, because I'm in the recently updated Peugeot E208, and it's pretty much exactly the same underneath to the Vauxhall Corsa E, which is a couple of cars to my right over there. The final car in this lineup is the Hyundai Kona Electric. That's a car that, if you go for the 64 kilowatt hour version, could do 250 miles in the real world on a charge, but it's also quite expensive. It costs more than £36,000. So here we've got the 39 kilowatt hour version. Has a smaller battery, can't do as many miles, but it's also less powerful. It only has 134 brake horsepower.
3, 2, 1, go!
And off the line, my wheels are spinning quite a lot.
Level with the MG ZS. Come on, you can do this, you can do this.
And it's really quite close.
I'm ahead of the Corsa, got a slightly better start that time.
Where are we? Halfway point. I'm going 71 miles an hour.
The Kona is coming back at me. Am I going to beat the Kona?
Across the line.
Oh, I don't know.
Woo! Just made it.
I don't know.
Now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. We're putting the 2 winners against each other. I'm in the MG5. Will is in the Mini Electric. What is the quickest EV for £30,000?
So we've got an all-British final. Mini, of course, once a British brand, now owned by BMW, admittedly, and MG, also owned by Chinese, but let's see what happens.
Go. Come on, MG. Come on, MG. Off the line.
Oh, good start, good start. The MG's spinning up a bit. Yes!
The line is very, very close. My wheels are spinning quite a lot, but the Mini's got away. No!
I've got him. Is he going to get back at me?
I've got to try and claw it back.
No, absolutely left him.
Oh, I've not got this one. He had me. I thought I was going to get him off the line.
Cross the line. Winner.
I was second. That's devastating. So what have we learned? Well, if you have a budget of £30,000 for a new electric car, nothing will cover the quarter mile quicker than the Mini Electric. But is it actually the best car? It's time for a rundown of what your options are. And the worst one is, unfortunately, the Mazda MX-30. Its interior is brilliant and it has the best ride comfort of all the cars here, but the tiny battery won't even deliver 100 miles on a full charge, which makes this an incredibly compromised electric car. Next up is the Hyundai Kona Electric. The more expensive 64 kilowatt-hour version is a great electric SUV. But for the budget of this test, the smaller 39 kilowatt-hour battery gets a much smaller range, which at 170 miles in the real world is much better than the MX-30, but still not that impressive. The Renault Zoe beats the Kona in that respect. Renault's electric car has been around for almost 10 years and the latest version gets a real-world range of 200 miles in the summer, but it takes an age to charge. And Renault has removed automatic emergency braking from the Zoe lineup entirely, resulting in a shocking 0-star rating from safety experts Euro NCAP. Speaking of electric cars that have been around for a while, the Nissan Leaf has a big boot, comfortable ride, and it's one of the cheapest cars here. You'll probably only get about 140 miles from a full charge though, which isn't great. And neither is the cheap feeling interior. Plus, it rapid charges using CHAdeMO, which can be tricky to find in public charging locations across Europe. Like everything else in this list, the Peugeot E208 accepts the much more common CCS rapid charging. And the E208 has a quick charging speed compared to most of these rivals. It also has a smart interior and good driving manners, but it's one of the priciest cars here. The Vauxhall Corsa E is very similar to the E208 underneath, but it's cheaper, which is enough to put it one place higher in this list. The Mini Electric is the ultimate drag race winner of this group, and it's got the best interior as well. There's lots to like, but similar to the MX-30, the range is terrible. Even trips of 100 miles are out of the question when it's cold. MG has been really grabbing the headlines with its electric offerings, and the MG ZS EV is a fine example why. It has a great electric range and a price tag which undercuts plenty of rivals. There are two versions, and even the cheapest one with a smaller battery should do about 150 miles in real-world driving conditions. And while the MG ZS EV might be quite small for an SUV, it's big compared to everything else here. In fact, for the money, it's only the MG5 which is as spacious. And because it's a bit more comfortable than the ZS EV, and the long-range version is cheaper than the equivalent long-range ZS EV, the MG5 just finishes higher. You can't buy a cheaper version of it with a smaller battery though. The Fiat 500 is a lot smaller than those MGs, but for those who don't need much space, it's actually one of the best affordable electric cars around. Nippy acceleration, a tight turning circle, and decent ride comfort, this absolutely nails the small electric car brief. But the best new electric car for £30,000 is actually one we drove shortly after filming this drag race. The new MG4 wouldn't have won the quarter-mile sprint, but it is the best new electric car that you can buy with a £30,000 budget. It's roughly the same size as the fantastic Cupra Born, and while the MG4 might not be quite as outstanding in a couple of areas, it is significantly cheaper. It really does represent outstanding value with a great range and a decent interior, all in a practical package. Of course, something that costs £30,000 is not cheap to most people, but in the new electric car market, you won't find anything that represents better value than the MG4. Thanks for watching. For more information on all these cars and to get a great deal on your next one, head to whatcar.com. And to see more videos like this, subscribe to our channel.